Hey, it's me, Troy, and today I'm going to be talking about the Tower of Babel. And just to give a brief review, my last video on Bible history, I was talking about the flood, how the whole earth was destroyed by a flood, and only Noah and his family was left alive. So now I'm going to pick up where I left off, and now I'm going to be focusing on the next big Bible story, and that's about the Tower of Babel. And just to kind of follow up on what's been happening, Noah's sons produced uh, more descendants on the earth, and the descendants began to remultiply and repopulate the earth. So we once again now have a lot of people that are on the earth, but the problem is that they're not scattering like they should be. They're all together right now, and they all have the same language, and they're trying to build a tower to reach to heaven. And this goes against the will of God. So the Lord's going to be dealing with that here in this chapter. And right now I'm on Genesis chapter 11. So I'm going to turn to that. I'm going to look at some of these scriptures here. This is, again, the Tower of Babel. Okay. So I'm going to start here in verse 1, and then I'm going to leave it off here on verse 9. And the whole earth was of one language and one speech, and it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, and they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city, and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. So they were trying to build the tower to go to reach to heaven, and this was against the will of God, because they were essentially trying to make themselves powerful when they were trying to go beyond the limits of what they were allowed to do. So the Lord confounded their language, and then He scattered them across the world. This is where the languages come from. Before this, there was no different languages. Now, because of the event of the Tower of Babel, now we have multiple languages. That's why we see different cultures with their own native language. So this is essentially, basically, the origin of the nations. After the Lord scattered people across the world from after the Tower of Babel. So, so we learn about a couple of things here in this chapter. One of them is God being triune. We know that when we saw Genesis 1 earlier in the book, we saw how God said, let us, and as a plural. And here we see it again in Genesis chapter 11, where God says, Go to, let us go down. So that's indicating plurality. That doesn't mean that there's three gods or anything. That just means that there's one God but it's three persons: the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So I believe this is talking about a triune God. Um, and we also learn about a couple other things here. One of them being that this is essentially a warning against a one world government. This is telling you right here why a one world government system it just doesn't work. God doesn't want the whole world to have a one world government and be in a one world system. God likes multicultural nations. He wants the nations to be scattered. They're not supposed to all be grouped up together like that. It goes against the will of God. That's why they say that the Antichrist is going to start a one world government. And we also read in Revelation about how when the beast comes, that he's going to have power over all the earth, um, and it'll be like a Babel essentially. Um, so this is why we shouldn't have one world governments. Um, so so that's all I got for today, and I'll be continuing in the Bible's history series at another time, Lord willing. Thanks for watching.